Alright, so here's our last one for this week, and we're just reviewing the multiplication we've been doing, but I want to also go back and review for you how you convert to a mixed number from an improper fraction. So sometimes when we perform operations with fractions, we end up with an improper fraction, meaning we have a fraction where the numerator is greater than the denominator. And most of the time, we have to convert that to a mixed number, especially going forward. You're going to be expected in 5th grade and 6th grade and so on that you report your answer in the most simplest terms, which means you need to convert it to the most simple, which would be a mixed number. So here's what you need to remember for that. Fractions are simply division problems in disguise. That's it. This is a division problem. So really, the question you're going to ask yourself is, how many times does 4 go into 13? And then how many leftovers? And that's going to tell you what your mixed number is. So the first thing is, how many times does 4 go into 13 without going over? So if I skip count by 4, I've got 4, 8, 12. The next one would go over. So that was 3 multiples. That's going to be my whole number. How many leftovers do I have to get to 13? Well, I'm at 12, so I need one more. One more what? One more fourth. So these two things are the same. 13 fourths equals 3 and 1/4. Give myself some more space here. Same thing down here. How many times does 8 go into 19? So if I skip count by 8, if I know my multiples of 8, I've got 8, 16, but then I have 24, so that's over 19. I can't go over 19, so it's just 8 and 16. Well, how many times did I skip count? Just 2. So 2 will be my whole number. So I'm at 16. And I just gotta count up until I get to 19. 16, 17, 18, 19. So that's 3/8. And I just keep my denominator. So 19/8 and 2 3/8 are the same thing. Let's visualize it a little bit more. Write this down. Here's all you have to do. You have to divide. And the quotient you get, or the answer you get, is your whole number. The remainder that you end up with becomes your numerator, and your divisor becomes your denominator, which really means we're just keeping the denominator. So if I start with 17/3, I'm going to divide. How many times does 3 go into 17? It goes in 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. I've got 2 leftovers. So here's where these numbers come from. Look. 5 becomes the whole number. 2 becomes the numerator, and I have the same denominator, so it's 3. Everything that I got as part of my answer goes into my mixed number. My quotient becomes my whole number, my remainder becomes my numerator. Okay, let's practice some. Okay, so let's multiply and then we'll convert. So practice from the last video, we know that this is going to be the same thing as 3 times 2 over 5. You better be writing this down. That equals 6/5. That is improper because 6 is greater than 5. So I'm going to divide. How many times does 5 go into 6? 1 time. And it leaves me with a remainder of 1. So here's where my numbers come from. 5 becomes my whole number. Oh, no. No, Mrs. Shock, no. 1 becomes my whole number. The remainder of 1 becomes my numerator. And the divisor becomes my denominator. The easiest way for me to remember that is divisor and denominator both start with D. Let's do another one together. So I know that this is going to be 5 times 2 over 3. That's 10/3. So I'm going to divide. How many times does 3 go into 10? I think 3 times. So I have a remainder of 1. Here we go. 3 becomes my whole number. 1 becomes my numerator. And then my divisor is my denominator. So my answer is 3 1/3. they're the same thing. Let's do another one together, and then you'll do one by yourself. So I know this is going to be 9 times 3 over 4. That's 27 fourths. So I divide. 4 goes into 27. Pause right now, work it out yourself. So if you did your division, this is what you should end up with. So now we just need to move the answers to the right places. Divisor becomes whole number. Remainder becomes numerator. Divisor, denominator. So 27 fourths is the same thing as 6 3/4. Okay, I want you to do this one all on your own. Do the multiplication. I'll get you set up. So you're going to end up with an improper fraction. Then you're going to divide, and you're going to come up with a mixed number. Pause and do it now. So here you go. I did my division. Because I multiplied and I got 32 sevenths. So how many times does 7 go into 32 without going over? 4 times. I'll have 4 leftovers. So it'll go in 4 whole times. I'll have 4 leftovers of sevenths. Okay, so your code word is going to be mixed number. It needs to go into the last slide of the slideshow before you turn it in. All right, I will see you next week where we will continue working on fractions, but we'll be connecting them to decimals.